And good morning, and welcome into the starting lineup, ESPN Radio 1340, 1069 WCDT Winchester. I am Joe Abraham. On a Therapy Thursday, alongside Chewy this morning, we encourage you to get involved in the show. Probably don't call today. Text the show, 931-305-5611. You can also jump in on the FMO Facebook feed. Today's going to be a good one. I've already pissed some people off, and all I did was post a Facebook post promoting the show. It is a Therapy Thursday, like I said. And before I get into everything today, I want to start by having a little conversation. Yesterday, I made a Facebook post promoting today's conversation about the sheriff's race. And it's ironic because a lot of times I make these posts promoting the shows and the posts get more traction, like they piss people off. The whole point of the post is to engage people and get them interested in listening to the show. That's the whole point. You know, whether you like it or whether you like how I framed it, you know, the whole point is to get you here and get you involved in the conversation. So yesterday, after I asked Mayor Chris Guess where some of the numbers on a post that was made by Tim Fuller could be verified, that were publicly available, I then spent much of the day looking into these publicly available numbers. And I went into the TBI Crime Insight website. I actually have my book in the other room. It's got all my numbers written down in it. Did a bunch of math. Put some work in. And then I made a Facebook post promoting today's show. Post got some reaction. Some people didn't like the framing. Some people probably didn't like that I brought attention to it in general. Some people immediately tried to make it about me instead of the numbers. But it is a Therapy Thursday, so let's have a little bit of group therapy here, because I make a Facebook post and people want to act like I kicked their dog. I stole their campaign sign. I personally demolished democracy before breakfast. But I want to be clear about what today is and what it is not. It is not a Facebook fight. It is not about personal attacks. It's not about rumor chasing. It's not even about my guy versus your guy. It's not about any of that. It's just about numbers. We're going to dive into some numbers. Probably some numbers that people did not even know about. A lot of people, most of you, did not even know about. But it's a conversation about public records. Campaign claims. Law enforcement philosophy. And simply what voters should expect from someone running for sheriff. And let me say this before we get started as well, because the Facebook post only focused on 2 out of the 3 candidates in the race. You had Tim Fuller and Charles Keller, who are at the center of this particular debate. You also have Troy Parsons Jr., who many people personally believe is very capable himself. And my goal is to host a sheriff candidate debate, a forum or a Q&A on the station. Not necessarily on the show. I don't need to host it. I don't need to moderate it. In fact, I've had a couple of people reach out to me, including like Johnny Hand and some other folks who would be interested in moderating it. If you don't think that I can be unbiased, which is fine with me. Everybody is biased in this town in some way or another. We live in a small town. And this platform, which we create, which we develop content for, is, in my opinion, the most impactful one in all of Franklin County. And I open it up for all 3 candidates to come and make their case, to come and answer questions, to come explain their records, their platforms, their experience, and why Franklin County should choose them. Nobody will be shut out. Nobody's being silenced. Nobody's being told that they cannot speak. We are literally offering the microphone to each of you. And it's important because I think that the online knee-jerk reaction off of like a 180-character Facebook post is already proving why this kind of conversation matters. People like to jump to conclusions. They like to read into tone and all these assuming motives and attacking persons who may ask questions instead of just dealing with the question itself. And that's not healthy, guys. It's not. Which is fine. That's what I'm here for. I got tough skin. I can take it. It's a sheriff's race. It's not a popularity contest. This is about who can do the job the best. This isn't student council. It's literally who is going to lead law enforcement in Franklin County. It's a job that matters. Matters to my family, matters to your family, matters to the schools, matters to the officers, matters to the business owners, matters to the people dealing with the drugs and their families, matters to people paying taxes, matters to victims of theft, matters to victims of violence, abuse, domestic situations, matters to every single person who expects someone to answer the phone when they call for help. And so, yes, damn it, we are going to talk about it, like it or not. And if there are other questions that arise, regardless of which candidate they are targeted at, we will talk about them too. Regardless of who it makes uncomfortable. Because the discomfort is exactly why the conversation needs to be had. That's the point. So, my goal out here this morning is not to protect any candidates from questions. Today is making sure that voters get the answers. And let me say this clearly. I do have an opinion, and I am allowed to. I have a Tim Fuller sign in my yard. It's not a secret. It's true. It's not something I'm hiding. It's not a major scandal. I am allowed to have an opinion. I'm a voter. I'm a taxpayer. I'm also allowed to be a radio host and a business owner. I'm also allowed to look at public information and ask questions about people running for office. Having an opinion doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to discuss the race. A yard sign does not make public records or conversations about them off limits. Does not change the numbers. Doesn't make questions disappear. And let me be clear about this as well. I have simply not been asked by Keller's campaign or Parsons' campaign or any other campaign to put up a sign. And in fact, here at the station, it has always been a long-standing tradition to offer the front area of this property, even prior to me, to any candidate who asks. You know how many have come up and asked me? Not a single one. And in fact, being the most impactful media company in all of Franklin County, which I stand by, not a single candidate has come up to us and asked us about even advertising, promoting their campaign. We reach nearly 1 million people through Facebook alone a month. Every month. Not a single one of you has come up to me and asked if they can put a sign out here, if they can buy ads, if they can come on the show and talk to voters. And regardless of whether or not I have a yard sign, I'm still very much willing to offer the platform to every candidate in this race. That's not unfair. That's the whole point. And I'm going to call Bear Brewer out on Facebook because he called me out, saying that I'm obviously not neutral because I have a candidate sign in my front yard. Fair enough. Like I said, I have an opinion. Bear, for everybody who wants to know, Bear introduced me to my wife. Bear officiated my wedding. I voted for Bear when he ran for sheriff. Having an opinion does not prevent me from asking fair questions. We live in a small town. Having an opinion does not prevent me from giving candidates a platform. It does not change public data. And unfortunately, I'm having to spend the first segment of this show talking about this crap instead of just getting into the actual conversation. Because apparently having an opinion means that a candidate's public record is no longer fair to discuss. Only people without an opinion can discuss the record. So the idea that I am incapable of listening to candidates or supporting people based on what I believe from one time to the next, that doesn't hold up. Doesn't hold up. I voted for Bear when he ran against Tim Fuller. I've supported different people at different times before. I've disagreed with different people at different times before. And I've changed my mind. And that's what this whole process is about. Because I'll be honest, here's the uphill battle that anybody who runs for sheriff against Tim Fuller has to face. You have to change minds. You have to change minds. A lot of people trust Tim Fuller with all the things that I just mentioned before, protecting their families, protecting their community, protecting their schools. Change minds. Don't get mad at me for simply having a conversation and diving into this stuff. I've been honest about mine. It's my opinion. And like I said, everybody's got one. People in the comments have opinions. The people sharing campaign posts have opinions. A lot of yard signs up. A lot of support for Keller in the community, which is great.
Kimberly Shelton said, we would like to hear from all three candidates running for sheriff's
I
office.
agree. I'd love to have them all in. And I have not had a communication with any of them. I have not spoken to any of them. So if anybody says that they're not being asked or there's like an unfair one way or the other, I haven't spoken to any of them. I made a Facebook post and I referenced 2 out of the 3 because the 2 that we are talking about primarily today are embroiled in an interesting situation, we'll call it right now, based off of the Facebook post that was made by Keller, or made by Fuller, that referenced some numbers regarding Huntland and Keller and his history. Now, here's the other thing. As far as even outside of the conversation and it being fair, even the Facebook post, I would like to say this, because it was the way that you framed it, the way that you put it. Maybe some of it too is just the way that you read it. The line that's seemingly pissing people off is that common sense policing or a red flag? Is that common sense policing or a red flag? Now, is that a biased line? Let me flip it around. Is that a red flag? Or is that common sense policing? And when we get into the numbers today, I am going to make the argument for Charles Keller that it's common sense policing, common sense spending. I'm going to make his argument for him without him even having to be here. But you read the Facebook post and you automatically assume that because we're having the conversation, your guy must be the bad guy. Your guy must be the target. It must be some sort of shot. Come on. Think this is my first rodeo here? Having an opinion doesn't mean that we can't have a fair conversation. Doesn't mean we're not going to be respectful to all candidates involved. And I'm sorry if Troy felt slighted that I didn't reference him in the Facebook post yesterday in regard to the 3 candidates and having all 3 of them being asked to this event when we have it. Probably need to have it in an evening. Needs to be a special thing. Get somebody else in here to host it because apparently I'm biased. I don't know any of these candidates. Not really. I've had small interactions with each of them, I think. They all seem like nice guys to me. As far as me with the Tim Fuller sign in my front yard even, we have Sam Davidson on our show every week. And regardless of who wins, I'll get into this later, but regardless of who wins, I'm going to support that person for sheriff too. Whether that's Tim Fuller or Charles Keller or Troy Parsons Jr., because I believe in our community. I want to see us succeed. I have supported this department. I'm not backing down from that. That's currently where I stand. I believe that Tim Fuller has done a good job as sheriff. And I just said this. If you're running against him, you got to convince some people why you can be the better candidate. It's an uphill battle. I feel for you. But I've supported the Franklin County Sheriff's Department openly and consistently for the last couple of years. It's not something we're embarrassed by. Hell, if you win the job, I'd be proud to do it for you. Sammy D's on the show every week. Guy's got a damn nickname. We talk about scams. We talk about safety. We talk about arrests, public awareness, community issues. I support our SROs. I support law enforcement being present in our schools. I've never backed away from that, guys. And certainly a few Facebook posts are not going to bully me into backing away from it now. It's not how this works. And you don't get to say, well, because you support law enforcement, you're not able to talk about law enforcement, or you're not allowed to. Supporting the current law enforcement leadership does not mean that you stop asking questions to them either. Does not mean that you stop looking at public records. Every candidate is and should be going through a certain level of scrutiny. There's a lot of questions that are going to be asked on all sides of things. And if you have questions that need to be asked of Tim Fuller in a public setting, I ask you to send them in. If you care about school safety, you should care about who leads it. If you care about drugs in this county, you should care about who leads the fight against the war on drugs in Franklin County. If you care about jail operations, budgets, staffing, morale, training, response times, public trust in general, you should care about who the leader of that is. So yes, and I've heard this being said before, the position of sheriff is as important, if not more important, than the county mayor. I have heard it discussed that the sheriff is the most important role in the community by people who know better than me. I just talk about it. I don't live it. And I talk about it, a lot of times I talk about it from the everyman position. What am I looking at here? What are we dealing with? Because I know a lot of times what you know. I hear a lot of times what you hear. And then my job, while a lot of you guys are at work, is to turn around. I see the Facebook page. Now I got to turn around. I got to spend 4 hours researching numbers, preparing a show to talk about it, to inform you. That's my job. To take the same perspective that you have and then dive into it and figure out what's behind it. It's not an attack on anybody. Today's show is not an attack on Troy Parsons Jr. It's not an attack on Charles Keller. It's not me endorsing Sheriff Fuller. But each challenger has the burden. When there is a incumbent who's been there the way that Sheriff Fuller has, Charles Keller and Troy Parsons Jr. have a huge mountain to climb. I sell advertising for a living. I understand the pitch. Convince me. If you want somebody to buy what you are selling, do not get mad because they ask questions. You answer the questions, you explain the value, you make the case, So if Charles Keller's the better option, sell me on it. If Troy Parsons Jr. is the better option, sell me on it. Explain the philosophy. Explain the record. Explain their experience. Explain what Tim Fuller's doing wrong. Explain what could change. Paint the picture for me. How can Franklin County be safer, stronger, better served? That's not unfair. That's a job interview for this position. And if your campaign strategy is to get mad at people for asking questions, that's not a campaign strategy. That's a warning light. Voters are supposed to ask questions. I'm a voter. And I got a lot of voters that listen to our show. Candidates are supposed to answer them. So don't attack me, convince me. That's the job interview. When we come back, we will start to get into this a little bit. It is the starting lineup on a Therapy Thursday, ESPN Radio 1340, 1069 WCDT Winchester.
The Tennessee Lifeline Peer Project connects individuals and families to addiction recovery resources right here in Franklin County and across our region. From treatment referrals and 12-step meetings to education and ongoing support. Because recovery happens when we're stronger together, and life truly is stronger without it. Learn more at fcpctn.org/TNLifeline or call 931-464-0725. Funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Got a project to tackle or a party to plan? Skip the stress and rent it instead at Reliable Rental in Winchester. From tools and heavy-duty machines to chairs, tables, and event essentials, they've got what you need to get the job done right. Whether it's work or a weekend celebration, Reliable Rental makes it easy. Stop by 2433 Deckard Boulevard in Winchester, or check out everything they offer online at ReliableRentalFC.com. Reliable Rental. When you need it, they've got
From
it.
the 931 Weather Center, it's time for an ESPN Winchester weather update.
Showers and thunderstorms are headed your way today, mostly at 1 p.m. Our high is going to be 78 degrees. Calm winds. Chance of precipitation is 90%. New rainfall amounts between a tenth and a quarter of an inch possible, except higher amounts possible in thunderstorms. Stay tuned to ESPN Radio Winchester for more of your weather updates.
The opinions of the hosts are their own, and they do not represent the opinions of, well, really anybody else. You're listening to the starting lineup. Now back to Joe and Chewy.
That was a fitting stinger. I think perfect time and placement for that one. Just
Kevin Relford jumped in. Saying,
morning, Kevin.
Preach, we need more people being called out in this community, and I'm pulling for Keller, by the way.
Okay.
I think you did a hell of a job. Or do a hell of a job.
And let me state this as well. If you felt slighted by the Facebook post, I apologize. It was not my intention to come across bias one way or the other. It was not my intention to even leave out Troy Parsons Jr. I simply made the post, and in my head was thinking about this dynamic between these two right now. This is the central conversation, okay? And it's not about giving them more attention or saying that they're the right guys for the job. Hell, they may embarrass themselves enough over this process where we all decide Troy Parsons Jr. is probably the guy, right? That's a possibility. Now, if all of y'all are wondering where Chewy's at in this whole thing as well, Chewy's anxiety from this whole conversation is like past 10, up over 15, skyrocketed. He's here. He's making sure that the show is running. But he may fall out depending on what I say. I do want to say this as well to start this next segment before we take any further steps in this. Whoever wins, and I have said this time after time after time, I want Franklin County to win. This is all about setting our sights on the destination and picking up an oar. Grab your oar. We are rowing in the same direction. And between now and the election, we may not necessarily be rowing the same boat, but we're rowing in the same direction. And at some point in time, boats are going to start sinking and hands need to go over the side rails and haul people's asses back up into the boat so that we can all get back to rowing in the same direction. That's how this process works. I freaking love Bear. I don't like that he called me out on Facebook and tried to say that I was biased, but I do have an opinion. It's not that I'm unbiased. He is right about that, but it doesn't mean that I can't have an unbiased conversation. It doesn't mean that I can't ask questions. It doesn't mean that I can't support all the candidates in this whole process. And honestly, I encourage the candidates to get involved here because we do have such a big impact. Whoever wins, I'm going to support them as sheriff. If Keller wins, I'll support him. If Parsons wins, I'll support him. If Tim Fuller wins, I'll continue to support him. At the end of the day, I want Franklin County to win. I want our community to be safe. I want our schools to be protected. I want our officers to be supported. I want our families to be protected. It's not about hating a candidate or blind worshiping another. I'm not looking for a king. I am looking for a public office. When we turn politics into blind loyalty, we stop asking the right questions. And if we stop asking the right questions, we get worse government and worse leaders and worse outcomes. So my position is simple. My current opinion is that Tim Fuller has done a good job as sheriff. If we're going to make a change, I need to be convinced. That's the challenger's job. Whoever wins, I'm going to support. Franklin County will hopefully make the right decision, regardless of what that is, and we can be better off for it. If the sheriff's department is effective, Franklin County is safer. If the sheriff's department communicates well, the community is better informed. If the sheriff's department works well with schools, our kids are safer. The whole county benefits. That's why this conversation matters. Not to tear anybody down, but because voters simply deserve to know what they're buying before they make the decision. So if somebody can convince me that Franklin County would be better served by a different sheriff, make the argument. Don't attack me for asking. Don't attack voters for wondering. Don't turn public records into some taboo subject. Just make the case. It's bigger than my yard sign, guys. It's bigger than your favorite candidate. This is Franklin County. This is about the county winning. All right, so let's talk about what brought this whole freaking mess up, which, by the way, got my air conditioning fixed yesterday. That was nice. Tim Fuller's campaign posted a graphic about drug arrests across Franklin County. And I saw it, like a lot of people did, and it kind of like one thing stood out to me. It was the Huntland drug arrest numbers that was listed on it as 0. So yesterday, we actually had Mayor Guess in on the show, as we do on the first and third Wednesdays of every month. If you're not familiar with the show, something we do all the time. And at the end of the show, I slipped in a question about the source and about the numbers because I wanted to go look this up. I meant to go get my book because I've got the URL and everything written down in it so that you guys can, and I will get that information to you, so that you guys can go and look up your own information. But Chris Guess mentioned the source. I wrote it down. It appears to be, it's like the TBI website. It tracks the reported crime statistics from law enforcement agencies across Tennessee. Now, again, the other thing that I want to mention before getting into this conversation is a light was shined on one particular statistic, the drug arrest numbers. It took me hours to go through just those statistics. Anybody who uses the website, just a warning, slow as hell. It does that thing where it's got a bunch of charts and all the things on it, and you can tell it's literally pulling from a spreadsheet and building it's building the spread, like the view of all the numbers and all the graphs and stuff like that as you click on it. So it's slow. It sucks. So once I started looking through these numbers, though, some things stood out. And as was stated in the graphic, Huntland Police Department reported 0 drug arrests from 2023 and 2024. That's 0. The number alone doesn't necessarily automatically prove anything bad. It does raise the question. And when the police chief of that department is running for sheriff of Franklin County, that question becomes fair game. So I am going to start year by year under Huntland Police Chief and Republican Sheriff candidate Charles Keller. The Huntland drug arrest numbers are as follows. 2024, there were 0. 2023, there were 0. 2022, there were 2. 2021, there were 3. 2020, there were 0. 2019, there were 0. 2018, there were 0. 2017, there were 0. That's a total of 5 drug arrests in 8 years. Now, that is over an 8-year period. 5 total drug arrests. Now, we are going to compare that to the 8 years before Keller took office. 2016, 1. 2015, 2. 2014, 4. 2013, 12. 2012, 7. 2011, 2. 2010, 0. 2009, 1. A total of 29 total drug arrests in the previous 8-year period. And only one of those years was there a 0. So Huntland went from 29 drug arrests in the 8 years before Keller took office to 5 in the 8 years under Keller. That is roughly an 83% decrease. That does not automatically prove misconduct, guys. It does not automatically prove a failed policing system or policy system. I'm not saying that it does. Those are simply the numbers. I took his 8 years, compared them to the 8 closest years prior. Is that biased? Okay. What it does raise is an absolutely fair question. 83% is a drop. And that's the point that's being raised here. I'm not saying that I know why it happened. What I am doing is asking why it happened. The difference matters. If the answer is reasonable, then the answer should help the candidate. If the answer is strong, then the answer should reassure voters. If the answer is, here's our philosophy, here's how we handled calls, here's how mutual aid works, here's why the numbers look that way, then great, say that. This is the point. This is what we're walking into this opportunity. But the answer cannot be, how dare you notice? That's not going to work. That's not going to convince people. That's not. We talked about, you got to sell people. Fuller has been in office for a long time. That's not the answer people are looking for. This is not the answer you're looking for. What number would have to stand out before you'd say, okay, voters deserve an explanation on this? And in comparison, when you look at the sheet, the chart, the graphic that the Tim Fuller camp posted, the entire rest of the county, and I did the numbers on this, I even added in Monteagle, because I don't think that was listed. 643 arrests, drug-related arrests, across the entire rest of the county. 643 arrests have been made in the last 2 years. That's Cowan, Deckard, Winchester, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, Monteagle. It's all of the other, I think I got them all, precincts that have reported. I got to go in the other room and get my book. It's got all my notes in it. And Huntland's was 0. 643 to 0. That is not me being biased. Those are numbers, real numbers. So, again, back to zero. Zero may have an explanation. Let me be clear. There could be a very reasonable explanation behind zero. It could be staffing. It could be town size. It could be reporting. It could be mutual aid. It could be cases that were handled by another agency. It could be a difference in enforcement policy or philosophy. The question is, what is the reason? That's all that people want to know. It could be that the department focused on other priorities. That could be, when we talk about common sense policing, common sense spending, if Charles Keller determined that it made more sense, they were putting more money into drug busts than what was worth it because they were only getting 1 or 2 a year, his argument could very well be we decided to reallocate those funds in other areas that we saw needed help, needed more funds. That could be the answer. I don't know. I just know the numbers. The concern is raised when we live in a county, and this is a real concern with the Franklin County Prevention Coalition and all the work that has been done over the last 20 years to reduce drug-related crime in this county. It is a very real concern when you have voters saying, okay, well, not only have you been handling a department, the smallest department, the smallest community in town, or in the county, not only have you been handling this very small operation, and now you want to handle the whole sheriff's office, but drug law enforcement has not been a priority to yours. You don't have a spectacular track record there. How is that going to translate in a county that has a very dark history when it comes to drugs? Because you see zero, and don't let the cartel see zero. We'll freaking have the Mexican cartel up here running operations out of Huntland because they say, oh, zero. It's not a priority. And I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm not saying that there's no effort being made. What I'm saying is I don't know why. What are the priorities? What is the philosophy there? How did it go from 29, which is not a huge number, but it's a number. Let me put it this way. Per 1,000 people, there's only like 886 people in Huntland. Per 1,000 people, they averaged 4 drug arrests per 1,000. That number dropped to 0.7. It dropped to 0.7. 83% drop. I am not drawing a conclusion. I went and dug deeper into these numbers. I also dug deeper into the other surrounding areas' numbers. It could just simply be that they decided certain drug enforcement efforts were not the best use of their resources. That could be the common sense in that regard. That could be one of the decisions made by Keller in that regard. That's possible. I'm not declaring a conclusion. I'm asking a question. The numbers are the facts. Facts are stubborn things. The fact is that Huntland reported 0 drug arrests over the last 2 years, only 5 over the last 8. And if there is a good explanation, then we need to hear it. That's a tough question that Charles Keller has to answer. I don't have the answer for you on today's show. I'm sorry. I don't. I am willing to and offering all candidates to answer these types of questions on air in a live debate type of setting, Q&A setting, to be figured out at a later date. The reason that Huntland's number stands out is because Huntland is not sitting on another planet. It's not on another planet, Chewy. Huntland is in Franklin County. Over the same time, in the same county over the last 2 years, the other agencies reported drug arrests that look like this. Franklin County, 213, the Franklin County Sheriff's Department. Winchester Police Department, 186. Deckard Police Department, 119. Estill Springs Police Department, 70. Cowan Police Department, 27. Monteagle, 28. Huntland, 0. Now, population also matters. Huntland is much smaller than Winchester, right? Winchester's got like 9,500 people. Close to 10,000, depending on who you ask. Huntland is smaller than Deckard. Nobody's saying that a small town should have the same number of arrests as a larger town, but 0 is still 0. And common sense, we talk about, again, the platform common sense policing, common sense spending. Well, common sense would suggest in a town that has had 643 arrests or whatever it is related to drugs that Huntland's number should be something, there should be something there. That's what common sense, when you look at that, that's why that doesn't match up. It should be somewhat relative. And if you look at some of these, and I did the per 1,000 residents for all of these towns, again, it's in the other room. I'll grab it here in a break. We'll send it to break in a second. But when you look at the per 1,000, a lot of the other towns in the community have a very similar per 1,000. They're very similar. Some stand up a little bit higher, a little bit stronger number. Some are a little bit lower. But the per 1,000 number is fairly close. So when the surrounding communities are reporting dozens or hundreds of drug arrests and Huntland is reporting 0 over the last 2 years, voters are allowed to ask what that means. Is it a staffing issue? Is it a reporting issue? Is it a philosophical decision? Is it a red flag? Because that is what the other side is saying. They're ripping that North Football Gators towel off the wall over there, and they're waving it above their head, and they're saying, this number, 0, is a red flag. That's their argument. That's the debate. So if you're a Keller supporter, that is the question that is being asked, and it should not scare you. If you are a Keller supporter, you should be very confident in the answer that you have there. If Keller's philosophy is right, explain it. Explain why it's right. If the numbers are misleading, explain why they're misleading. If the town size makes the comparison unfair, explain that. If Huntland relies on the county for certain enforcement, explain that. If arrests are happening through other agencies, explain that. This is a deliberate small town policing strategy. Explain that. But explain it. Don't just attack it. Don't attack me. Don't attack the question. Don't attack other people for asking questions. Getting mad at the question does not answer the question. All right, we'll take a quick break and be back on the other side with more. It is the starting lineup, ESPN Radio, 1340, 1069, WCDT Winchester.
Hey, it's Chewy, and if you've got pests, you need the folks that I trust. Burrow's Termite and Pest Control. They're right here in the heart of Estill Springs at 101 North Main Street, taking care of everything from termites and ants to spiders and those little critters that love sneaking into your home. Burrow's is family-owned, they're local, and they've been protecting homes around here for years. So don't wait, swing by or check them out over there online at burrowstermite.com. Burrow's Termite and Pest Control. They'll treat you right and treat your home even better.
At Citizens Community Bank, we're here to make your banking easy and convenient. Whether you're visiting us in person at our main location at 1418 Dinah Shore Boulevard in Winchester, or others in Deckard and Huntland, or managing your money on the go with our secure mobile app, we've got you covered. Call us today at 931-967-3342. That's Citizens Community Bank, Equal Housing Lender Member FDIC, your trusted partner in banking for over 30 years.
It's time for a local news break from the 931 Go News Center.
In a partnership with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency is asking for the public's help identifying 3 individuals connected to an incident at Bear Hollow Mountain Wildlife Management Area. According to authorities, the 3 individuals were involved in an incident near Turnpike Road, and video footage of them was captured on trail cameras within the wildlife management area. Officials have not released specific details about the nature of the incident at this time. Still pictures of the individuals can be viewed on the Franklin County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. Anyone who recognizes the individuals or who has information about their identities is asked to contact the Franklin County Consolidated Dispatch Center and request to speak with TWRA Officer Matthew Stevenson. In other law enforcement news, a woman wanted in Ohio on heroin-related charges was arrested this week in Nashville after authorities say she'd been living in Tennessee under a false identity. According to the U.S. Marshals Service, 36-year-old Rashonda Williams was wanted in Scottsdale County, Ohio, for failing to appear in court on charges related to heroin possession and trafficking. The arrest warrant was issued in February of 2022. Investigators with the U.S. Marshals Middle Tennessee Fugitive Task Force received information from the Northern District of Ohio and determined Williams had been living in Clarksville under the alias Brittany Gibson. Task Force members located and arrested Williams without incident around 8:30 a.m. Tuesday at a business on Dickerson Pike in Nashville. She was booked into the Davidson County Sheriff's Office jail and is currently waiting extradition back to Ohio. Authorities say the case highlights the continued cooperation between state and federal agencies in tracking and apprehending fugitives across state lines. For more details on these stories and more, visit 931go.com. Stay informed and stay connected to your community with ESPN Radio Winchester.
This is ESPN Radio Winchester, where Franklin County comes to life. From local news and athletics to everything in between, we're proud to bring you the stories that matter right here at home. And it's all made possible by local businesses connecting with real people in our community every single day. When you support them, you support our local coverage. Over 75 years of Franklin County heritage. Want your business to be a part of it? Contact WCDT today. ESPN Radio Winchester. Franklin County plays here.
You're listening to the starting lineup, fueled by Loco Coffee, on ESPN Radio 1340, 1069, WCDT, Winchester.
All right, back here on the starting lineup, ESPN Radio 1340, 1069, WCDT, Winchester. I am Joe Abraham alongside Chewy. Wrapping up this hour. So I went in the other room. I got my book. See? I got my numbers. I got my notes. The numbers, if you go to crimeinsight.tbi.gov, that is crimeinsight.tbi.gov, that is where I went to find these numbers. You might have to put in a forward, the easiest way to get to it. It took me some clicking around and searching around. But crimeinsight.tbi. Oh, I left off the TN. TN.gov. Sorry. Do this again. crimeinsight.tbi.tn.gov. It'll bring you to a page. You're going to have to search around. Skip that. Put /TOPS. crimeinsight.tbi.tn.gov /TOPS. Write that down. If you have any questions, Chewy and I can put it in the comments section or something, and that way you guys have a link right to it. It allows you, it'll pull up a page. There's a picture of Nashville, and it allows you, it says Tennessee crime stats up at the top. Over to the left-hand side, you can select your jurisdiction, you can select your year, and you can select the theme. Now, I only got into drugs/DUI. I didn't go down the violent crime route. I didn't look at property crime. I didn't look at domestic violence. I didn't look at hate crime or use of force. I didn't look at any of the other categories. I only looked at drugs and DUI numbers in this, because this is what this particular conversation, this question, this red flag that was raised by the post that was made by Tim Fuller's campaign group, showing 643 drug arrests across Franklin County's different groups. In fact, his was a little bit less than that. I think it did not include Mont Eagle, which had 28 in the last 2 years. But regardless, and there was Huntland, big fat 0. That's what sparked this whole thing. And I saw it, and I was like, huh. Honestly, didn't even really think about it until the comments started rolling in on either side, and I saw it shared a few times. And I looked a little bit closer, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. It's interesting. It's worth looking into. So I've got my numbers here, Chewy. The one thing that I did, I thought that this was the best exercise in going through the numbers. How do you analyze these numbers, right? Because Deckard at 2,379 people is not the same as Huntland. Huntland's got 886 people estimated. Ish.
Huntland only has 886.
886 people.
Okay.
Okay. So how does 2,379 relate to 886? So what I decided to do was do per 1,000 people.
Okay.
How many drug arrests per 1,000 people does each town have on average per year? Right? So I took Deckard's numbers from the last 2 years, divided them by 2, and did the math. Divided 1,000 by 2,379, multiplied that, and what I came out with was per 1,000 people, this is each town, and their drug arrest numbers. Deckard has the highest rate at 25 people per 1,000.
Wow.
They've had 119 arrests in the last 2 years. Think about it. Only 2,379 people.
That's a lot.
25 people arrested on drug charges, or at least 25 drug-related arrests per 1,000 people. It is a lot. It is the highest number by far, by almost double. Cowan, 1,759 people estimated live in Cowan. They've had 27 drug arrests over the last 2 years. Based on my calculations, which I would also like to state this, not a math major. Hated math. But I'm pretty sure statistics-wise I was usually pretty good. Sports statistics, 7.65 people per 1,000. 7.65 per 1,000. Estill Springs has 2,694 estimated people. They've had 70 arrests over the last 2 years. So per 1,000 people, you're dealing with 13 people per 1,000. 13 arrests, per 1,000 people. Could be the same dude 13 times. Mont Eagle. I found this one interesting because you've got the Grundy County dynamic and the mountain and all the bad news bears that you hear about up there, but it's also a pretty buttoned up college town, very nice. So it is an interesting dynamic. 1,393 people estimated, and these numbers could be a little bit out of date. Some of them were based off of the 2020 census, folks. So I'm doing the best that I can with the resources that are available to me. 1,393 people. Over the last 2 years, they've had 28 arrests. So per 1,000 people, that is almost 10 on the dot. I think it was 10.01 or something like that. 10 arrests per 1,000 people. Winchester, 9,375 people. They had 186 arrests over the last 2 years, Chewy. That comes out to be 9.9 arrests over 1,000 people.
That's significantly smaller than I would think, proportionally.
Right. And then you've got Franklin County, who has, and actually, I don't have my number written down here. I know it's a small number. It's like 2% or something like that, the county as a whole. But it's 213 arrests over a 45,000, person county.
Mm-hmm.
The big difference, though, is that you've got multiple police departments under the county. So comparing the county sheriff's office to different city police departments is not necessarily apples to apples. Now, that brought me to Huntland. So Huntland, and we talked about this, prior to Charles Keller taking office, they averaged 4.06 arrests per 1,000 people.
Okay.
The lowest number. That number has dropped. He took office in 2017, and since 2017, it has averaged 0.705 per 1,000 people. And so that is the question. And I'm very much interested in hearing the answer to the why. All we are doing is diving into the numbers, asking the why. I get it. Some people are not going to like the question. Some people are not going to like the fact that the numbers look the way that they do. I didn't make the numbers. But I can have a sign in my yard, candidate sign in my yard, and still have a conversation surrounding the numbers. It doesn't make the data disappear, whether I ask the question or somebody else does. And I think that, I'll be honest, I think I've done a pretty good job doing it. You may not like me. A lot of people don't, believe me. Add them to the list. I love you all. We'll be back with hour number 2. On the other side, it is the starting lineup. This is ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester.
People take pride in their property, and Flagship Lawn Services does too. They offer reliable mowing, trimming, mulch, and cleanups at a price that makes sense. And with the Flagship Finish Guarantee, they don't leave until it looks right. No shortcuts, no hassle. Just a yard that looks the way it should. And that's quality you can trust. Call or text Flagship Lawn Services today at 239-849-4033 and get your yard looking its best this spring.
It's Larry Shelby, previously on the Paul Feinbaum Show.
You know what, Chris? Let me tell you something. Why don't you go catch your breath before commenting on somebody else's? And Packsaw Tuscaloosa Jim Duggan. You shut up, because I could strike you out blindfolded, pitching underhand with both arms tied behind my back.
Okay, why don't we take a break? I'm pretty exhausted.
The Paul Feinbaum Show, weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and on the SEC Network.
No two patients are alike. High Point Health with Ascension St. Thomas delivers care centered around your health, your goals, your story, your recovery. From routine checkups to critical procedures, we use today's medical technology and advanced clinical practices to help you feel better, recover faster, and return home to the community you love. We don't just specialize in care, we specialize in you. Learn more at highpointhealthsystem.com.
With the latest from around FCHS and Rebel Nation.
The Rebel Report, every weekday, presented by Oaklawn Baptist Church, right here on ESPN Radio Winchester.
Welcome back, Franklin County. I'm Lucas Stevens.
And I'm Laura Medina. Welcome back to the Rebel Report, your source for everything happening in Franklin County athletics and activities.
We begin with a look back at an incredible postseason run by the Franklin County Rebel baseball team.
The Rebels battled their way through the region tournament this past week and showed a ton of fight all the way to the very end. Unfortunately, their season came to a close Saturday after a heartbreaking 5-4 loss against Battle Creek.
Even though the season ended just one run short of advancing to the state sectionals, this team gave Rebel fans plenty to celebrate.
It has been quite some time since since Franklin County baseball has made a postseason run quite like this one, and this group proved they can compete with anyone in the state.
Throughout the tournament, the Rebels showed resilience, toughness, and determination every single game. From big defensive plays to clutch hitting and strong pitching performances, Franklin County represented the community with pride.
One of the most exciting things about this season is that many key players are expected to return next year.
This postseason experience could become the foundation for an even bigger run next season. The Rebels now know what it takes to compete deep into the playoffs.
Now let's head over to track.
Our Franklin County track and field athletes who qualified for the state tournament are entering their final preparations before competing next week on May 21st.
These athletes will have the opportunity to compete at the University of Tennessee Track Complex in Knoxville against some of the best athletes in the state.
That's an incredible accomplishment and something our entire school can be proud of. We want to wish all of our athletes the best of luck as they closed out their seasons and compete for a chance to land on the podium at this next state meet.
And while some seasons are ending, preparations for next year are already beginning.
Tryouts for several Franklin County athletic teams will take place next Thursday, which also happens to be the final day of school.
Different sports will hold tryouts throughout the day, so students interested in participating should be sure to check out with coaches and school announcements for the exact times and locations.
Summer workouts, camps, and off-season practices are just around the corner, and excitement is already building for another great year of Franklin County athletics.
We are looking forward to summer and a whole new season for everyone next year.
That's all for today's Rebel Report.
I'm Laura Medina.
And I'm Lucas Stevens. And as always, go Rebels.
More Courtney Funeral Home. Well, they're a fifth-generation funeral home taking care of the people of Franklin County since 1905. They're committed to serving you, dedicated to providing personalized, professional, and compassionate service to help lighten your burden and help you out during these difficult times. More Courtney Funeral Home, 300 First Avenue Northwest in Winchester, 967-2222. More Courtney Funeral Home.
Good morning, Deckard.
Good morning, WCDT.
How are you this morning?
We are terrific on this last day of school. How are you guys?
I'm a little sad that this is the last day. So I'm thinking, to lift my spirits a little bit, do you guys think you could pull out one more really awesome pledge for me?
We've got several fifth graders in the office this morning ready to pledge on the radio one last time on their way out of Deckard Elementary School.
All right, let's hear it.
Good morning, Franklin County. Please join Deckard Elementary as we stand. Salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
That was an amazing pledge. Thank you so much, guys.
Was it not?
Wow.
All right, we've got our final joke this morning. All right, girl, come on up. Tell me your name. My name's Alea, and I have the joke. A Spanish magician said that he was going to disappear on the count of three. So he started, uno, dos, and he left without a trace.
All right, guys. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, and I hope y'all have a wonderful summer, okay?
Y'all too. Thank you so much.
See ya.
you in August.
All right, that was a good one. That was one of the best pledges of the year. Sorry. Forgot.
It was inspiring to the point where I heard it coming through my headphones.
You stood
so
straight
loudly.
up.
Brett has
yeah, he's been letting us know about how he feels about the pledge.
Yeah, he's been telling me we need to start standing up during a pledge. That one inspired me to do so. Maybe next year we'll have to start doing that on a regular basis.
Shout out to Deckard. That was amazing.
What was the joke? I didn't hear the end of it. I was putting my headphones in at the beginning. Something about a magician or something counting to three.
Yeah, they said so a Spanish magician was going to disappear.
Okay.
And he says, uno, dos, and then he left without a trace. That is so cute. I adore that joke.
That's pretty funny.
That is so good. All right. Back to it.
Okay. So I don't even know where I was at. Oh, let me reset things. It is a starting lineup. This is ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester. I apologize for the brain fart there. I'm gonna miss those kids.
I am too. It's funny that the school season is always like so busy. You got all the games and the calls,
Yeah.
and you've got all the people coming in to tell you about it. And in the summertime, you think, oh, this is going to be a break. But honestly, when summertime rolls around, I get a little lonely. It's a little. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not giving you a hug. You can get involved in the show. 931-305-5611 is the text line. If you want to call in, I'll let you call in this morning. I mean, we're not like going to try and silence anybody. It's just, listen, if you want to call in, watch your language. We're going to talk respectfully to one another. 931-967-3500.
Brett wanted to know why I did not stand for the pledge, and you did. He did tell you good job, but I have to reach the microphone and the phone.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Yeah, we'll work on that for next year.
Yeah.
How do you know he wasn't standing? I mean, he's kind of built funny. Maybe he was standing on his hands. Like his hands reach the floor.
I can do that thing where you like lift up your body while you're with crisscross like applesauce.
Oh my gosh.
I used to be able to walk around, but then I got really, really fat. But anyway.
You can get involved in the show this morning, though. You can also head on over to the FMO Facebook feed. That is my favorite way for people to get involved in the show because not only can you comment right into the show, you can watch us in studio right from there. You can just engage the whole time. You carry us around with you, comment right in. We've had good engagement as far as viewership this morning. Not a whole lot of comments. So we do welcome those. If you've got questions, here's the thing. And I do not know. I'm not the be-all, end-all. I'm not the expert on these candidates. I have not pretended to be. In a lot of ways, I'm very similar to you, and I have the same questions that you might have. So what I encourage is, and we're going to get into this in just a second, but if we are able to organize a debate type of situation or a Q&A with the candidates, what questions would you have for them relating to experience, background? And here's the thing, Chewy, because I have heard these men speak at the different things. I've had enough kind of exposure to them that I know a little bit about each one of them, but mostly only in the way that I'm hearing their talking points, their campaign slogans, their campaign talking points. And I don't want to hear that. You know what I want to hear from each of these men? I want to hear the toughest thing that they've had, the toughest day that they've ever had in law enforcement. I want to hear about what makes them tick. I want to hear about their why. And not in a prepared, weird, on-stage production kind of way, in a personal way. I want to know who these men are, not just who they dress up as in their campaign outfit and their campaign slogan and their, like, show me you.
You want a less polished version, a more realistic take.
Yeah, I just want to know the man.
Sure.
And then from there, do I have questions about the record, the numbers, the things, the experience? Of course. But it's so hard to get to know people. And we see, especially in local politics, you've got one of two things I feel like you see in local politics. You either see people who they have no idea. They've never had anybody manage a campaign for them. They don't really know what they should and shouldn't do or what to expect when they get into local politics or when they get into politics, period. And you can tell they're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants, and they have great intentions, but they don't necessarily know what they're doing. You got that group over here, and that can sometimes turn into a train wreck. And then you got this other group over here, and they want to pretend that they're putting on, like, the presidential election campaign. And they're so buttoned up, and they're so, like, everything is going to be. And really, I think that the best lies somewhere in the middle. You know, yes, if you're going to be a leader of our community and handle all of these things, it's very important that I have the trust and faith in you to button it up, to be professional, to be impressive.
Take it seriously.
Take it seriously. Good, yeah. Chewy, trim your beard, like stuff like that. Like you, me, not politician type, okay?
You want somebody who can, both, like you said, take it seriously, take the role with the gravity that it has, but at the same time,
show me
right. Don't
it's
become
important.
a caricature of what you think the ideal leader might
Right.
be. Still be yourself
Right.
in that role.
And then, obviously, too, you don't want them to be just some dude.
Right.
Like if Chewy ran a campaign tomorrow, what does that look like? Probably not great.
Roll back on pizza taxes. Doug Garrett just said, "Sorry, just got here. Who is Joe pissed off today?"
Everybody.
Alan Barnes wants to know how many sheriff's candidates were invited. I think all of them.
All 3 of them.
Yeah.
So, despite what the Facebook post simply referenced the 2 of them discussed in the conversation that has been primarily had today, the actual invite is open to all 3 of them. And I haven't really officially made it yet. That's the point of the Facebook post. The Facebook post literally said, tomorrow on the show, I will be inviting these 2. It didn't say only these 2. It just said I will be inviting them both to this thing.
But all 3, it's an open.
Right.
Yeah.
Troy Parsons Jr. is also going to be invited or is invited. All right, let me go back to where I was at. I got to find my page. I got like 34 pages of notes. That's a lot.
That's some of the most. Is that the most of show prep you've ever had?
No, but it's a lot.
That's an impressive amount of show prep.
I told you, I've been working on this thing for freaking hours.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of it was added last night and this morning. I got here way too early this morning because people got offended by the post that I made. And I referred to this in the first hour. I'm not going to go down the whole rabbit hole again. You go back and watch the first hour of the show, the first segment of the show. Now, how you read, is that common sense policing or a red flag, is different than asking, is that common sense policing or is that a red flag? Is that or a red flag?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you flip-flop it, you could very well easily say, is that a red flag or is that common sense policing?
Mm-hmm. It's just delivery.
Depending on how you read that it's like a text message.
Yeah.
Depending on how you read that, it could be very offensive, or it could just be, is that common sense policing, or is that a red flag? Anyway, I also talked about the fact that, yes, I do have a Tim Fuller yard sign in my yard. I would like to open this up, and this is not just for sheriff candidates as well. I don't know at what point in time people thought that we stopped allowing candidates to put stuff in our yard. We are content creators, okay? We do the show. We have advertisers. We're running around like crazy trying to take pictures of the kids. We do freaking games left and right. We're trying to run a business here, and there are a lot of candidates. I have never once said that we won't or can't or don't or whatever to any of these. Every one of them is allowed to advertise with us. Every one of them is allowed to put a yard sign up in the front of the station. Every one of them is allowed to get involved. But I am not going to chase people. I'm not. I have reached out. You know how many times I have reached out to people and said, hey, we'd love to have you on the show. Hey, when's a good date for you? Hey, we'd love to have you involved in some way or another. All the time. To school board members, to teachers and people within the district. I mean, commissioners, you've reached out to commissioners. It's exhausting. And if we're not a priority to them, that's not on us. We do our content, and the more local stuff we do, the better. But it's tough to constantly be chasing people who don't appear to want to come on or don't have any kind of... If you want to be a part of it, come. If you want to promote you, take 10 minutes out of putting up yard signs and come down here and ask.
Our address is on Google. You're allowed to come over here.
1201 South College Street. Come find us. And here's the thing. They did it in the past.
Yeah. We even for seemingly innocuous things sometimes.
We're making as big of an impact as we ever have in the community as far as like people paying attention and getting involved and the views online and the listeners and all the things. We haven't gone anywhere. And all I'm asking is rather than for us to chase every single individual in a county of 45,000 people that has something to say, if you think that you've got something worth talking about that locals will care about, bring it to me. Because, hell, I may not even know about it. I don't even know who you are. Half the time I run into people around town and they call me by name. I don't even know you. I'm sorry. I don't even know my kids' names half the time. Probably because I don't see them enough. Freaking spend all our time here, Chewy. No, I don't mean to be critical of people. What I'm saying is we would love for you guys, whether you're candidates, whether you're community members, whatever the case is, to get and stay involved. Every morning when I open a show, get involved in the show. 931-967-3500. Every morning, jump in on the FMO Facebook feed. The door stays unlocked. And some people show up and they have conversations with us, and some people don't. I can't control that. I'm not going to chase down everybody and anybody because, hell, I put a Facebook post out there, and if I don't mention one of the candidates' names, I'm somehow trying to silence them. No, I just didn't put your name in that particular Facebook post. But if I start calling on individuals and making an effort, then it's going to be like, well, you called on him before you called on me. You brought him in to advertise before you brought me in. No, I'm not going to call one sheriff candidate and then another candidate and then another candidate. I'm going to say, hey, here's our phone number. Here's the impact that we make. If you want us to help you, here we are. Anyway. I don't know how I ended up going down that rabbit hole. So today, a lot of today's conversation, Chewy, has been about basically one number.
Right.
The number 0.
Just asking a question, not an accusation.
And asking the number why. Yeah. Why is it 0? But I do want to say this. The sheriff's job is much bigger than one statistic, one number. Drug arrests matter. They are not the entire job. The sheriff deals with patrols and investigations and the jail and budgets and staffing and officer morale and school safety and SROs and court security and civil processes and response times and mental health calls and domestic situations. The sheriff's office deals with interagency relationships and public trust, and sometimes the sheriff goes up and talks to the damn president. I don't know. I don't know. You know how many days I've worked in law enforcement in my entire life? 0. The same number of arrests was made in drugs in the last 2 years. But that's my point. I don't know. There is a lot of stuff that I'm not an expert on, a lot of these processes that I'm not an expert on and have no ability to speak on, which is why I want to open it up for all of the candidates to get up and talk about these things. And some are going to have better answers than others. But the conversation's not just about one number. It's about leadership. It's about experience. It's about whether or not running the smallest department in the county translates into running the sheriff's department. Some people will argue that it doesn't. Some people will argue that Charles Keller's experience in the private sector gives him really good insight on things like budget and some other things that that make him a dynamic candidate. Maybe he has a strong argument for why his leadership style would work countywide. Maybe he has a strong explanation for the Huntland numbers. And he obviously believes that the sheriff's department needs a different philosophy. Great. let's have everybody in and you can come and explain it. The same goes for every candidate because Troy Parsons Jr. has a plan. I haven't particularly heard it. And here's what I think, where I think a lot of people stand. They have personal relationships possibly with these candidates. They know an individual, whether it be from working with them or relationships even outside of the law enforcement setting. Maybe they're just friends. But maybe they don't know the other candidates. Maybe they don't know the full picture. Or maybe their only interaction, and this is where I think most people lie, their only interaction with these men have been like short videos on Facebook or a short 30-second, hey, I'm Tim Fuller. Hey, I'm Charles Keller. Hey, I'm Troy Parsons Jr. I'd appreciate your vote for sheriff in the August election. I'm here. I believe in this. I believe in that. I believe in common sense policing. What does that mean? I believe in common sense spending. What does that mean? Show me. And I mentioned this in the first hour as well. For the candidates, and this is any office ever. Any office. If you have an incumbent, it is a friggin' uphill battle to unseat that person and replace them. Small towns, way harder. And so what you've got to do is you're going to have to change minds. I have a Tim Fuller sign in my yard. Change my mind. Don't just give up on me because I have a Tim Fuller sign in my yard. Maybe I don't have any sign in my yard. How do you keep me from voting for one guy and not voting for one guy and voting for you instead? Because from a number standpoint, and I looked at the election number results, yeah, Charles Keller won like 90-something% of the Republican vote. But there were like 800 people who just elected not to make a choice in that sheriff's voting option on the Republican ballot. They just recused themselves from making a vote in that. And what does that say? How do you, if you're Charles Keller or if you're Troy Parsons, for people who have not either made up their mind or maybe they're on the fence, I don't know, how do you start changing minds? How do you start winning people? And I'll tell you what, it does not happen on Facebook. It does not happen through email. Try and sell something through a text message. It's no good. If you are the challenger, yeah, you got an uphill battle, and you're trying to say that you're different. Help me help you. Let's explain to people why different is better. For the listeners, here's my question to you, and we've had some questions. We've had some interaction that's popped up on the Facebook page. My question for listeners is, what matters most to you in a sheriff? Experience, drug enforcement, school safety, budget management, communication, something else. Maybe it's that they're well-rounded. Maybe it's communication and transparency. And what is it? What is the thing that you're looking for, the thing that makes the most impact for you from a sheriff candidate? So here is my invitation. And I don't know the date yet. Because, hell, I don't even know if I'm going to be there outside in the crowd. I think that there are some really good people who would be great moderators for this thing. I sure as hell don't even know if I want to. I want to, right? Because, you know, I want to be engaged in the process. Honestly, I woke up this morning, and you know what? I at one point, I was like, just turn it off. I'm so sick of, you know, people getting so butthurt. Just turn it off. Just give up. And I let that come into my head for about 10 seconds. And I got up and I put my damn pants on. I am publicly inviting all 3 sheriff candidates to come out and be a part of some sort of a debate platform, some sort of a structured question and answer platform. We can figure out the date. We can figure out the time. Obviously, it's got to come together sooner rather than later. I would encourage, if you're running for sheriff, probably should be a priority. I think that there are a lot of people who would want to see and hear. Again, I have talked about this. I want to know more than just what is in your campaign slogan. I want to know more than just the talking points. I want to hear from you directly, not from your campaign manager, not from what ChatGPT told you to say, not from how you think it should look. I want to hear from you, the man, the police officer, the professional, the leader of this community. Tell me who you are. I think that's what a lot of people in this town deserve. Well, we can get into drug enforcement. We can talk about budgets. We can talk about the schools. We can talk about the jail. We can talk about staffing. We can talk about all that crap. But I want to know who you are. I want to know what the sheriff's department, what your vision for it is, what that looks like going forward, and why, if you're not Tim Fuller, if you're Troy Parsons and Charles Keller, why your vision is better. And that is a damn challenge. That is a challenge to you. And you shouldn't be offended by that. You should be excited. That's why you're running. Tell me why. Convince me. Put your damn pants on like I had to this morning. Come in, show up, tell me why. Because it sucks sometimes to answer tough questions, ones that you don't have a great answer for. But you do it. And if you sign up to run for this office and take leadership of this county, of these people, of my kids in school, you better have a damn good answer of why I'm going to replace the person that I've got trust in right now. And I should not feel bad for asking why. It won't be a circus. I'm not going to put up with ridiculousness. It's not a hit job. I'm talking about let's come in, let's be respectful to one another, let's have a conversation. If Keller has a strong case, his opportunity to make it. If Parsons has a strong case, boom, opportunity. Let the voters hear from all 3 of these guys and let the voters decide. The bottom line is this. I am not asking Charles Keller to prove that he is a bad candidate. I am not asking Troy Parsons Jr. to prove that he is a bad candidate. I am asking everyone who wants to replace the current sheriff to prove that they are the better candidate. That's the standard for any challenger that ever runs for office, that ever tries to replace somebody who's been there for not just a few years. And people in this town are allowed to have an opinion. My current opinion is that Tim Fuller's done a pretty good job as sheriff. A lot of people have that same opinion. So if we're going to make a change, convince us. It's not unfair. That's called a campaign. It's a job interview. And you got plenty of lead time to answer the first question if you're Charles Keller. How should voters interpret 0 drug arrests in Huntland over the last 2 years and only 5 over the last 8? That's the first question you're probably going to be asked, or one of them. You got time. Work on a good answer. If you're Troy Parsons Jr. and people are questioning your experience, what's your answer? If you're Tim Fuller and people are making accusations against you and your department, what's your answer? You know all the questions that they're going to ask. You've seen 8 Mile, right? All right, we'll get a break in here. It is the starting lineup. I love this damn show. ESPN Radio 1340, 1069, WCDT Winchester.
In an overdose emergency, every second counts, and your actions can save a life. Through the Tennessee Save a Life program, the Franklin County Prevention Coalition provides free training and naloxone to help community members recognize and respond to an opioid overdose. This training gives you the skills to support someone in crisis. When we're prepared to help one another, we're stronger together, and we're stronger without the stigma that keeps people from seeking life-saving care. Visit fcpctn.org/Tennessee Save a Life to learn more. This project is funded under a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
From the 931 Go Weather Center, it's time for an ESPN Radio Winchester weather update, presented by Pennett's Pharmacy.
Showers and thunderstorms are headed your way today, mostly at 1 p.m. Our high is going to be 78 degrees. Calm winds. Chance of precipitation is 90%. New rainfall amounts between a tenth and a quarter of an inch possible, except higher amounts possible in thunderstorms. Stay tuned to ESPN Radio Winchester for more of your weather updates.
Looking for more than just prescriptions? Bennett's Pharmacy in Winchester has it all. Grab a bite from our menu, browse our boutique for one-of-a-kind finds, and sip on a Bloody Marty that's worth talking about, all in one stop. Located at 1201 Dinah Shore Boulevard, Bennett's Pharmacy is your unexpected destination for great food, fun shopping, and so much more. Call us at 931-967-2777 or come see what everyone's raving about.
You're listening to the starting lineup, fueled by Loco Coffee, on ESPN Radio 1340, 1069, WCDT, Winchester.
Back here on the starting lineup, ESPN Radio 1340, 1069, WCDT Winchester. Let me take a second to pause. Brooks Lynch said, why the foul language? It isn't necessary to make your point. I agree, and I apologize to anybody. I'm a little bit fired up today, and Brooks is right. I do apologize for my language this morning. That's on me. We got a phone call in the break.
We did, and I believe it was one of so it said it was from Tim Fuller, but I believe that was Sheriff Fuller basically accepting. So
okay,
we got so it sounds like some candidates were listening and they're on board so far.
Okay.
So that's good news. Good this is a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. It's good to have these conversations.
Well, and again to Sheriff Fuller's credit calling in and basically saying, yeah, let's do it. He's going to have some tough questions asked as well. Shelby Busby says an end to corruption and the good old boy system, because that's where a cleanup for everything can begin. From drugs and traffic citations, there's stuff that has happened that the general public has no idea about. I have only witnessed a few, but it truly makes me wonder how much more they are covering up. It's beyond toxic. Those are the types of things that, that's an inflammatory but very speculative type of post. And those are the types of things, if there is proof and evidence and all that type of stuff, it's very important that those types of things come forward regardless of who the candidate is. I think it's but it can't just be, I heard this, somebody told me this story. There has to be verifiable evidence. You cannot go in a courtroom, and I've been in a courtroom a lot of times, more often than I would have really preferred to be. And if you claim like harassment, or you try and get a order of protection against somebody, or any of these types of things, the burden of proof is on you in the court of law. If you're the one that files it and makes the claim, the burden of proof is on you. And that is a hill that is tough to climb, my friends. People don't necessarily understand what that means. It's not just, he said this, he made me feel this way. If you've ever been in a courtroom and seen that play out, a lot of times you'll have people who come in and they don't realize, and it's not the court being, I don't know, dismissive of them. It's the court being fair to both sides. You can just, something like that, you make a wild claim against somebody that could damage their reputation. If the court lays down the law on it, then they have to carry that with them. So the burden of proof is on you. If there is somebody who has proof of levels of corruption, then it needs to be brought forward. And again, I apologize to Brooks for the foul language. Sometimes, so I have a background in coaching, and I also have a background in Christianity and religion, so it's not an excuse. But man, when I get fired up, I sometimes go back to using poor language to express emotion through my words. Shelby Busby says, they take away SROs from the schools. My child will be pulled out and either sent somewhere else or homeschooled. There is way too much craziness that has happened this school year. And I have seen things from Keller where he has posted, but he has no intention to take away SROs from the school. I don't think that anybody is looking to go backwards in that regard. The SRO program is absolutely tremendous. And as far as, and despite some of the craziness that goes on in the schools, let me also say this. Kids latch on to things that drive attention, right? You've got a lot of kids in these buildings, a lot of kids whose parents just lean into that screen, baby. All summer long, they're going to be just sitting in front of that screen, not getting no attention. And sometimes their way of getting attention is not necessarily a constructive, well thought out, mature way of doing so. If you've ever had a kid, tell me that you have not seen them lay down on the floor and have a fit in the Walmart checkout aisle. It happens. And sometimes they will do whatever they feel necessary to grab attention, whether it be acting out, putting their future in jeopardy. And so that is an all of us battle. I respect parents who, parents' decisions, parents who want to homeschool. I respect that. I am a firm believer in the public school system. I am a firm believer that kids should be interacting with kids at the school every day, good or bad. That it is about building character, about engaging with other human beings. This is a whole nother show, and I'm not going to be critical of people who homeschool it. For some of my favorite people in the whole world have either A, been homeschooled or homeschool their kids. But personally, I believe that's important for kids to be in school. Public, private, whatever. Just in school. Away from home. And two, we got a lot of parents who are, homeschooling their kids nowadays. And what do? You're literally giving them the same exact content, delivering it the same exact way through a screen probably that you submit to. And they're learning those lessons, but they don't necessarily have hands-on experience, and they don't have, again, good or bad, engagements with other kids. And that's the most important thing, I think, is learning how to live everyday life with other human beings. Seems like a lot of us need to learn that lesson. It is a Therapy Thursday here on the Starting Lineup. All right, so today on the show, we've gone through the numbers, and I encourage you to ask questions. One of the other questions, Chewy, that somebody asked was in regard to the backgrounds of the candidates. And that brings me to my point that I made in the last segment about having them on stage. And honestly, asking them questions that maybe they don't anticipate about who they are, what they stand for. Like, I get it. I get the campaign slogans. I get what you want people to see. Show me who you are. And that's what I really want to see. I want to know your experience in a little bit more in-depth, not just the talking points that each of these guys, they get up there and they've got like their 3-minute pitch, their 30-second pitch, their 5-minute pitch, which is fine. And everybody should have their platform. Hey, this is what I'm building my campaign off of. But the why, I mentioned it. I'd love to hear, what's your toughest day at the office look like? How do you deal with that when you go home? How's your family deal with some of these things? Why do you want this job? I want to know these men a little bit better. Because we see the public persona that they put on, the airs that each and every person that runs for public office puts on. But can we pull back the curtain a little bit on them and talk about who they are within the community? Because it is a small community. You got some people who do know them. You know, what's the dumbest decision you've ever made? What's the stupidest thing you've ever done? What's something that you probably, if it wasn't for statute of limitations when you were in high school, you probably, you're lucky to make it out of here for? I remember the first time that I ever laid the hammer down. So my first car ever was a Saturn, I think it was a 96 Saturn, something like that my sister backed into. My father said, he went over, he met with the guy. The guy said, yeah, they said it's going to cost $1,500 for me to fix the front bumper. My dad said, well, what do you value the car at? Like $3,000. Okay, well, how about I give you the $1,500? We subtract the $1,500 off. This is my father. He's like the tremendous salesman. We subtract the $1,500 that it costs to fix the thing, because I'll eat that end, and I'll give you $1,500, and you just give me the car. Dude, I don't know how it worked. I got a car for $1,500.
Wow.
It was a 96 Saturn. It was like black with gold flakes in it, so it almost looked, depending on the light that it was in, brown, whatever. It was a really cool color. I don't think I've ever seen a car that same color. Leather seats were all cracked and nasty, and in fact, they were so bad that the young lady that had owned it, that my sister backed into, had covered the front seats in leopard skin seat covers.
Good choice.
Fabric, but they were like leopard. And everybody thought it was so funny, I just kept them on.
Mm-hmm.
I just left them on. It was so friggin' funny. But I get this 96 Saturn, and for the first few months, probably, I'm safe. I'm very careful about how I drive. I push a little bit here and there, but I'm fairly safe. Until one day, I'm going to my girlfriend's house, and ahead of me, one of these, similar to here, it was in North Alabama, is where we were. Similar to here, there's one of these big country roads, and there's this big sweeping right-hand turn. And there's nobody coming. And I can see all the way that way. I can see, there's nobody behind me. I'm the only person on this road. And it in my head, I'm like, this looks like a friggin' NASCAR turn. Big embankment. I got a big, long lead up. I lay the hammer down in the Saturn. And I am flying towards that corner. Don't even touch the brakes. I go up in high because I'm going to come down off the hill and use the momentum from the embankment. I'm going to carry that thing around. And I tell you what, I hit the bottom of that turn and felt the back end turn around and spun around and ended up facing the wrong way. Came to a stop, facing the wrong way. Saw my whole life flash before my eyes at 105 miles an hour. Wasn't even going that fast.
Yeah.
But the Saturn couldn't handle it. You know, we do stupid things when we're kids.
Sure.
And some of us are lucky to make it out of them. You're looking at the screen in an interesting way. Somebody get a comment in the screen.
Katie just said that she had a picture of that car in her office.
Oh, gosh. It was a bad car. All right. Let's get a break in here. We will wrap it up when we come back. It is the starting lineup. Alongside Chewy, I am Joe Abraham. This is ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester.
When it comes to beef, the smartest way to buy is straight from the source. At Max Meat Processing, you can stock your freezer with whole, half, or quarter beef, saving money while getting premium, locally raised meat you can trust. No additives, no preservatives, just real beef. And if bulk isn't an option, no problem. Max Meat Market has you covered by the pound. Max Meat Processing, your hometown source for quality beef.
Daisy's Used Auto Sales proudly congratulates the graduating seniors of Franklin County High School class of 2026. This marks an incredible achievement and the beginning of an exciting new journey for you. Your hard work, determination, and perseverance have brought you to this milestone, and your community is proud of all you've accomplished. As you move forward towards new opportunities and adventures, keep working hard and believing in yourself. Congratulations to the Franklin County seniors from everyone at Daisy's Used Auto Sales.
It's time for a local news break from the 931 Go News Center.
In a partnership with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency is asking for the public's help identifying 3 individuals connected to an incident at Bear Hollow Mountain Wildlife Management Area. According to authorities, the 3 individuals were involved in an incident near Turnpike Road, and video footage of them was captured on trail cameras within the wildlife management area. Officials have not released specific details about the nature of the incident at this time. Still pictures of the individuals can be viewed on the Franklin County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. Anyone who recognizes the individuals or who has information about their identities is asked to contact the Franklin County Consolidated Dispatch Center and request to speak with TWRA Officer Matthew Stevenson. In other law enforcement news, a woman wanted in Ohio on heroin-related charges was arrested this week in Nashville after authorities say she'd been living in Tennessee under a false identity. According to the U.S. Marshals Service, 36-year-old Rashonda Williams was wanted in Scottsdale County, Ohio, for failing to appear in court on charges related to heroin possession and trafficking. The arrest warrant was issued in February of 2022. Investigators with the U.S. Marshals Middle Tennessee Fugitive Task Force received information from the Northern District of Ohio and determined Williams had been living in Clarksville under the alias Brittany Gibson. Task Force members located and arrested Williams without incident around 8:30 a.m. Tuesday at a business on Dickerson Pike in Nashville. She was booked into the Davidson County Sheriff's Office jail and is currently waiting extradition back to Ohio. Authorities say the case highlights the continued cooperation between state and federal agencies in tracking and apprehending fugitives across state lines. For more details on these stories and more, visit 931go.com. Stay informed and stay connected to your community with ESPN Radio Winchester.
When it comes to caring for your loved ones, choose a name you can trust. Inhabit Home Health in Winchester, located at 2068 Cowan Highway. We're here to provide compassionate professional care right in the comfort of your own home. From skilled nursing to therapy services, our team is dedicated to helping you or your loved ones achieve the best quality of life. Call Inhabit Home Health today at 931-967-0633 to learn more about our personalized care plans.
The opinions of the hosts are their own, and they do not represent the opinions of, well, really anybody else. You're listening to the starting lineup. Now, back to Joe and Chewy.
Are you just playing that same rejoiner over and over again?
Just making sure everybody knows.
You found that one and decided to stick with it for the show?
Yeah.
It is the starting lineup. This is ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester. We are wrapping things up this morning. I would like to say this. I really do appreciate everybody who jumped into the chat. I appreciate everybody who's been involved in the show. who's listened to the conversation. I think that sometimes we have these things and people speculate one way or the other as to how it's going to be. They anticipate. They get very on edge, very defensive right off the bat, and they react to Facebook posts that that we make to promote the shows. Listen, the posts that we make to promote the shows, they're going to kind of rile you up a little bit. That's a point. Drive a little bit of emotion. We're trying to drive people to the show. We want the engagement because we want the conversation. So I'm not offended that people felt one way or the other. I do appreciate everybody getting involved in the process. Whether we agree on who should be the next sheriff right now or not, the destination, I think, is unified. And we will pick up the oars and continue to row regardless of who that person is. We got to do it. We got to do it for the kids. We got to do it for the future. But let me also say this, and I do appreciate Brooks Lynch for calling me out on my language as well, because I am a believer in Christ. And let me just say this. As a believer, I don't think it's going to get better. We talk about today's day and age and the issues facing our children in these schools. Here's the scary reality of it all. Every president that we have, if you believe in God, if you believe that Christ is coming back, every day we wake up, we are one step closer to that, to the revelation, to everything that the Bible tells us is going to happen. And it's not going to get better. We shouldn't anticipate a president coming in and fixing problems. We should only anticipate or expect it to probably get worse as we hurtle towards what we believe to be that revelation. It shouldn't necessarily scare you. We just do the best we can each and every day. So, there's that. And again, it's my opinion. You may not agree with it. You may think that there is something else. You may believe in gray little spacemen and lizard aliens and Nordic 7-foot-tall dudes. That make one heck of a wrestler.
It's my band name.
Yeah. I think that's where you got your arms from. I think you're like 10% Nordic, but just the arms.
Yeah.
The rest is all Wookiee. We get those guns. I mean, the potential of those guns is terrifying.
With that reach, dude, it's more of a danger to society
than
anything.
Anyway, so I do appreciate everybody who gets involved in the show each and every day. I do appreciate the conversation. And again, we've also heard in the chat, Christy Parsons jumping in. Mr. Parsons worked last night, so I think he is asleep, but I can let him know about the invitation. And again, appreciate Mr. Parsons' service to our community, appreciate Charles Keller's service to our community, appreciate Tim Fuller's service to our community, and all of the law enforcement who tune in. Whether you're SROs, whether you're on the road, whatever you got today, be safe out there. We appreciate you all. We love you all. We want you guys to all be safe. And we appreciate your commitment to us and to protecting and serving us each and every day. That'll do it for us here on the starting lineup. For the Wookiee, I am Joe Abraham. Coming up after the top of the hour, we will have Reliable Rentals Swap and Shop. Chewy's going to probably go home and take a nap here in a second. And then he'll be back later from 2 to 4 with Unleashed.
Is Christy coming on this afternoon, I think, right? Is this the third Thursday?
She should be coming in tonight, or today.
So no promises, but hopefully
we
got someone coming in.
I got to text her and make sure. She committed to me last week.
No pressure, but
Yeah.
But I do hope
It'd be pretty bad if my own sister didn't show up to promote the downtown art walk that she's so heavily involved in.
No, we're good. We're good. I get it if she's busy. So
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I'd be offended. All right. For Chewy, I am Joe Abraham. Thank you all. This is ESPN Radio 1340 1069 WCDT Winchester.
Spring is in the air, and so are fresh new savings at Furniture Merchandise Outlet, FMO, right here in Tullahoma. Ready to refresh your space? From living rooms and bedrooms to dining sets and mattresses, FMO has the styles you want at prices you'll love. No long waits, no sticker shock. Just take it home today. Visit them at 105 North Jackson Street in Tullahoma or browse anytime at FMOTN.com. Furniture Merchandise Outlet, where spring cleaning turns into a spring upgrade.
The starting lineup with Joe and Chewy is presented by Loco in Winchester. Right here in Winchester, Loco is doing things their own way. From locally roasted Loco coffee to a one-of-a-kind shop experience. It's a place that's built for the Franklin County community. So if you haven't stopped by yet, now's the time. Support local. Drink Loco coffee, fueling Franklin County mornings. Roasted right here in Franklin County. And don't forget to tune into the starting lineup, weekdays from 7 to 9.
It's time for a community calendar update, presented by Minuteman Press in Tullahoma.
Here's what's happening in and around Franklin County. Coming up Thursday, May 21st, from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m., is the 2026 High-Tech Job Fair at the Atlantic Venue in Tullahoma. This hiring event will feature Arnold Engineering Development Complex along with commercial businesses and defense contractors. Positions range from entry-level to expert across engineering, skilled trades, cyber, aerospace, project management, data analysis, contracting, and financial management. Walk-ins are always welcome, so bring your resume and explore new career opportunities. On Saturday, May 23rd, from 10 a.m. until 12 p.m., the Franklin County Library will host its summer reading kickoff at 105 South Quarter Street in Winchester. Families can enjoy touch a truck, mini golf on the go, bounce houses, popcorn, hot dogs, and plenty of kid-friendly activities. It's a way to launch the summer reading program while encouraging literacy and giving kids a morning pack with hands-on excitement. And mark your calendars for June 6th and 7th as Remote Area Medical brings a free medical clinic to Franklin County High School. RAM will provide free dental, vision, and medical services on a first-come, first-served basis. No ID is required. Parking opens Friday at 11:59 p.m. and clinic services begin at 6 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. This is a major opportunity for individuals and families needing care at no cost. In a small area like Franklin County, staying connected matters. Stay connected to your community with 931-GO and ESPN Radio Winchester.
Do you need high-quality printing services that help your business stand out? Minuteman Press in Tullahoma has you covered. Whether you need business cards, flyers, banners, signs, or custom apparel, we do it all. We specialize in posters, brochures, window graphics, books, and promotional products to make your brand shine. Plus, we offer a free local delivery to make things even easier for you. For all your printing needs, call or stop by Minuteman Press on North Jackson Street in Tullahoma. Your business will thank you.
You're listening to ESPN Radio 1340 AM WCDT and 106.9 FM W295 AV Winchester, Southern Middle Tennessee's sports leader, serving Franklin County for over 75 years.
The future of healthcare starts here. The Southern Tennessee Regional Health System, Winchester and Suwannee, are joining the High Point Health System with Ascension St. Thomas, a health network serving communities across the state. We're working together to expand access, improve clinical quality, and keep you close to home throughout your care journey. Your favorite providers aren't going anywhere. It's the same care you know and trust, now with a new name. High Point Health with Ascension St. Thomas. Learn more at highpointhealthsystem.com. 。  . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . .
worldwide headquarters of ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut. This is ESPN Radio.
And the Thunder bounce back. The Western Conference Finals are even at a game apiece. Oklahoma City beat San Antonio 122-113.
I just thought the overall flow tonight, rhythm was really good. Put everybody at advantages. We had our foot on the gas. It was a real positive game in that respect.
Basketball doesn't get better than this. You know, these two great teams right here, and there's been a fist fight back and forth all the way down the stretch, so can't expect anything else for the rest of the series.